Well, hello my fellow car modelers. How you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Luka's Kits. And what I pulled off the shelf today is kind of an interesting subject that follows the line of a couple of past Luka's Kits episodes that we covered. And kind of following the early 80s Monogram line of race cars that they did. These were kind of a benchmark on the quality of domestic kits and accuracy that we hadn't seen before that. And it really changed our hobby a lot, and they're really not looked at like that so much. But this is probably one of the subject matters in racing that Monogram covered in that style and that series of kits they were putting out that didn't really catch on in popularity like the NASCAR Grand National kits and the NHRA Pro Stocks and funny cars. But the IMSA Racer kits were just as good, if not, might have even had some better features than the NASCAR or the NHRA kits did. So we're going to show you that one today. There was also another line of IMSA cars that was more the GTP ones. I don't have one that is open to show you, but I do have a built up. I'll show you later on in that. So I'm going to kind of combine two kits in one in this episode. But first, we're just going to go ahead and cover this Miller Mustang. This is a really neat kit. If you haven't seen these and you like building the Monogram NASCAR kits from the 80s, you're going to want to try to pick up one of these. And you know what? They're still pretty fairly cheap. I see them at the swap meets every once in a while, and they go for affordable prices. And I'm telling you, it is a worthwhile kit to build. I bought this one to build. I also have the Ford Motorsports version of this. Basically same kit, just different decals. So let's take a look at this kit, and we'll start with, of course, the box art. Nice picture of the real car on there, good photography. It really shows you what you're in for. And on the side here, it has some very good photographs of the built-up kit. A lot of good detail shots of what you're going to be getting with the interior and the engine. And it looks like it has a 4-cylinder Ford engine, and just the amount of detail that you're going to be getting. But wait till you see when we get inside this box how much farther it is than what you see in the pictures. And then on the other side, in 80s Monogram fashion, it always has a nice description of the particular car that you're going to be building. And it talks about that it was a 4-cylinder 1.7 liter turbocharged engine, which it's kind of a neat engine, something different from doing a typical V8 that's in all the other race cars. And we're going to start out with the instruction sheet. And it is a typical Monogram instruction sheet. Monogram always did very well with their instructions. Excellent illustrations, and shows you where everything goes, as a good instruction sheet should. No wording, nothing much to read except a few details. It just shows you where to put the parts and the number of the part. You know, you can't get any more simpler than that. And for decal placements, you have a few black and white photographs of the built model. Now normally I'll bring the decals up at the end of showing all the parts, but I just want to show you how nice these decals are. They did some very nice color, that bright orangish red of the Miller cars of back in the day. Just an outstanding sheet. This is back in the day when they could put beer and cigarette sponsorships on the decals and box art on model cars. Kind of a simpler time. People weren't so stuffed up. We could get away with stuff like this. They weren't so worried about corrupting the children, I guess. Not that children were really buying these. So here we are onto the body, and this body is going to give you some surprises that you normally don't see in your typical kits. We've got a whole front end that is separate, just like the real race cars, so you could display it with it off or just pop the hood, which is really neat that they give you those options. And it probably had a lot to do with the complexity of the body. It might have been very difficult to mold a complete body with all these different flares and ducts and all that stuff. But it gave the model company the opportunity to get a little better with the detail. And then they added some of the front end structure of the chassis onto the body, which made, I would imagine, assembly a lot easier. Painting might be a little bit more of a challenge, but you know, there's always ways around that. But this body is just incredible. It's outstanding. But you can definitely see down in there, there is a Ford Mustang Fox body down in there with kind of you know, a mask But yeah, it looks incredible. And let's look at the front end. Incredible detail of all of your riveting and bolt-ons of the front spoiler there. There's a little bit of some parting lines right there, but they're in spots that you're not going to really destroy any. If you're really careful, you're not going to destroy any detail when you're sanding those out. And that's about all you see in the parting lines on that. Other than that, it's really good. You probably just would paint that gray. It wouldn't be really that nice. Again, with race cars, what a lot of people tend to forget when we're building model race cars, these things were tools, and up close they weren't really that nice and shiny, and they didn't worry about doing intensive detail like having body color under the bonnet or the front clip like that. So you just kind of want to do your basics in model building, get rid of those twos, but you just want to put like a coat of primer under there would be totally sufficient and left alone. And even a little overspray from the outside paint job, that's acceptable. Again, race cars are not really that pretty up close until you start seeing your ones that are museum restored and they race on the vintage circuits. Those don't really depict the way the cars were back in the day. Bottom of the chassis, it's more of a plate here, but you can see a lot of the detail of the way the framework would be and where your seats attach and all that. These cars, for aero purposes, just had basically flat metal and composite material all put down to make just a flat bottom that had this channel to channel the air under the car, so it would help cutting through the wind and get better aerodynamics and more speed, and also help you suck down onto the racetrack with better handling and chassis feel characteristics. So, and they have some of the exhaust right there. So this it shows you that this chassis gets a little complex. There are lots of parts to it, and some of the interior right here. That you got some of the tanks and everything, really good detail. Everything's kind of molded in. There's even some molded in plumbing and all that stuff that if you can get in there real good with some paint detail, you can make that look really nice. And this probably went somewhere right about here. A lot of other aero pieces to go onto the body. Just made this kit just have a really good look of how those race cars were back then. And the way things are molded, I mean, things are really thin. You can see how this this rear spoiler is really thin. It's like a razor blade almost there. That it's not all clunky, so that it looks all into scale, and you have yourself a really nice built-up model that nothing looks toyish. The 4-cylinder engine is all here, and some of the exhaust with the turbo and little pieces of that, and there's also sections of the body, like there's the tail with the tail lights back in there, and the firewall, bunch of little components there that go with the chassis and the interior sheet metal. More great detail. It looks like it broke off, it's in the box, but the roll cage, really nice steering wheel, good sport steering wheel. Just some other piece of the roll cage and some of the intercoolers. Excellent Recaro seat. Look at the detail. It even has really nice seat belts molded into there. There's the hood right there. And flipping around here, there's a piece that fell off. Look at this. This looks like some of the roll cage, but it has a lot of the wiring and plumbing kind of hanging on there and routed in different places. You can get in there with some really good paint detail and make that very realistic. Looks like the inner portion of the wheels. You see how deep these are, and the other portion of the wheels are on the chrome tree. We'll get to that. Here's some pieces that fell off, like the rear end and the rest of the rear suspension. It's pretty well detailed. Not sure what kind of rear end that is. A full racing rear end they used in IMSA. There's some straggler parts and more of the front suspension with the steering and the rack and pinion there, and some other intercoolers or radiator. Yeah, these would be probably oil coolers. And here we are with the chrome tree. Again, it looks like it had a light dusting of a dull coat to really bring down the chrome and have it look more aluminum, which really helps the look out a lot. It's not so chromed out. You could even put a little bit more to even make these look more aluminum. And there's one piece that fell off. It looks like the turbo. Got that. There's some pretty good detail that you could really bring to life with a little bit of detail painting. And some of the exhaust system and the intake system. That looks like the intake system there. Well, I'm going to have to bust out the magnifying glass, see what it says on the valve cover there. It looks really cool though. But you can see the wheels, how deep they are, and these were those really nice BBS wheels that they ran back in the day. This thing is so different from building a NASCAR, which I built so many of those NASCAR kits and so many of those drag race kits, that this would be just kind of in that same fashion in those Monogram NASCARs and drag race kits, but just something different. And I haven't experienced this, and I look forward to getting into this one. And then on to the tires. Some Goodyear Eagle racing slicks, typical of Monogram's racing slicks. They always were really outstanding in the NASCAR kits and in the drag race kits. And these are very similar to the NASCAR slicks, except, you know, they're a little bit more for the road racing. They got two different sizes. The rear one is a little wider, and the sidewalls are a little more narrower, just a little more of a road race type tire. These are pretty cool. So that's about it with the Monogram IMSA Mustang. But again, I got another kit I want to show you real quick that kind of went hand in hand with this. So let's show you that one real fast. Oh geez, real quick, I almost forgot. I was putting it all away and I realized there's the glass. And not sure what we've got going here, but there's two bits of glass in here. There's for the side and the back window, but then yet there's a windshield and a black window there. So not quite sure what we got going there. Heck, I'll have to look on the instructions to see. But got the tail lights there. You paint them red in the back there with some transparent red, and you got yourself some nice tail lights. Of course, they're a little scuffed up from the age, but that can be buffed out. One of these days I'll do a video on that, how to get rid of all that scuffing from rolling around in the box. And the other IMSA race cars that Monogram touched on were these GTP cars. They were a little bit more exotic. Of course, it was a Ford Mustang, but it was pretty far from a Ford Mustang, even more so than the typical IMSA GT car that we just showed you. But this box is still in its cellophane, original factory sealed, and dust has gotten to the top of it, so it's a little hard to see. But I have another one here. Of course, I'm not going to open this up and take a look at this. Sorry guys, I want to keep this one sealed till I'm actually ready to open it. But what I do have to show you is they did two of these, the same kit, but they did it in this Ford Motorsports livery, and they also did it in this 7-Eleven livery. Now this was a kit I bought at a swap meet that it was already a built up, so I can't really show you the kit all in the pieces and everything, but we can take a look at this built up. I have no idea what the condition is in. I bought it years ago and stuck it on the shelf, and I haven't looked at it, but let's take a look at what this kit kind of looked like. Alright, so there's the kit with all the decals put on. Who knows when it was built. Again, I bought it like this. I had hoped to kind of resurrect it, but I mainly wanted it to complete my collection. Hopefully one day I'd like to buy one that's still unbuilt. But I haven't seen these particular ones around, but again, they weren't very popular, so when you do see them, they tend to be really, really cheap. So this one though, even though it was built up, I was lucky enough to have the instructions in there. So let's just take a quick look at the instructions. Pretty much just like the other Monogram instructions. Shows you everything quite clearly, and we have your decal placement. But the kit itself, actually, it looks like it could really build into a really sweet looking race car. Again, it was supposed to be a Ford Mustang, but I really don't see anything that looks like a Mustang on there. Back in the day, and it was, you know, the Fox body Mustangs that it was depicting. I'm missing the pillars for the wing, but let's pop this body off. It comes off fairly easy. So I think, well, now to start off, let's show you. We've got a pretty neat looking hood. It's got that whole thing for the air to come out over the car from the radiator instead of sticking inside. That's some stuff that you see a lot on your modern supercars and stuff today. They were doing it way back then. And you can see the engine. It's got that same 4-cylinder engine that was in the GT car, but a little bit more beef to it. These were wicked fast race cars. Let's get this body off and take a look at the chassis. We'll get this body. We're going to take this body off and look at. We're going to take this body off, I swear. Will the body come off? We're going to take this body off. Ha, there we go. It's cracking open. Bam. And nothing underneath to really look at, but that's what it looks like underneath. One solid piece there. It's not all split up like the GT car, but that's fine with us. And there you go. That's pretty much basic interior. There really wasn't a lot to these cars as far as stuff to look at. There was a whole lot of sheet metal and composite work done that kind of hid the chassis, and of course you had a flat composite and sheet metal bottom, just like on the GT cars, all for aero, and you never really could see the framework at all. So this is kind of a really simple kit, but look at how well they did all this rear chassis setup and the rear end and the control arms and all that, nice and thin and look to scale. They don't look all clunky and toy-like. So really properly done, you could make a very, very nice looking race car out of this. And that's that. That's what I've got to show you with the two IMSA kits that they came out with, along with the IMSA GT Mustang and the IMSA GTP Mustang. A couple of nice road race kits. Highly recommend them. Again, they weren't that popular. They don't hold a lot of value, so you can still find these and pick them up pretty cheap. Get one, get two, get 7. Have fun with them. They're pretty cool. And if not, you know, there's some pretty cool parts like that engine. Boy, I could think of some other type of vehicles you could stick that engine and go kind of weird and exotic instead of going with a typical V8 like we all do. That's it for showing this part of these great 80s monogram race car series that they did. It was just, yeah, it's always been my favorite series monogram ever did. And again, the box artwork, I have always enjoyed their artwork on the boxes. And what we're going to do to wrap this whole part of a series within my series here of Lucas Kits is in an upcoming Lucas Kits, we'll cover the funny cars that they did. I'm going to cover the 80s funny cars in a later episode. I always want to thank you guys for your support. I've been getting a lot of subscriptions coming in, a lot of new people coming on board, binge watching my stuff, letting me know how much they're enjoying the content. I was at the IPMS Nationals last weekend, as you saw in my last video. Met some of you guys. You're all super nice. That was really cool, and thank you so much for your support. I want to let you all know I did have a Patreon, and I have discontinued it because I found them to not be sending me the money. So I don't know what happened to the money. I'm sorry for you guys who did contribute to Patreon, but you doing that meant more to me than the money anyways, and I've contacted you all. You all know who you are. I really appreciate it. But I still have my Teespring account with my shirts and my mugs and my stickers. Go on there, get yourself a Model Car Hobby Headquarters t-shirt, wear it in pride, show everybody, make everyone jealous, and have them go buy one. Get out there, let everybody know about this channel. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I got more content on the way. There's a link to my Teespring account in the descriptions below, along with more channels to check out from my daughter and from my son-in-law and from Andy and my other channel too. Check that one out too. I kind of go on some tangents on that one. It's not model car related. It's all my other stuff and my other interests. But go check that out and get a laugh, and you know, keep on coming back. Thank you so much. But for now, keep on gluing those fingers together, keep on cutting that styrene, and we will see you in the next video.